starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk, Monday night, 30th day of the 7th month of the year 2018. We're live, and so looking forward to having some good back and forth. As always, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're chiming in from or where you're watching us from. Always looking to see who's new to the RTD Live Talk segment, and more importantly, if you have some things worthy of discussing in regards to our economy, the dollar, cryptos, whatever it might be, feel free to chime in, because I'm interested to find out what's going on in this crazy monetary world we're living in. And so the number above me, 833 Live RTD. Give me a call. Let's find out what's going on. So as always, we got Death. Scott is there. What's up? It says, think it's time to start shorting FANG stocks. Yeah, D, that's a very good one, man. And so I just recently, dive into a little deeper of the whole FANG stocks, and just not about an hour ago had a interview on a program on Reluctant Preppers, and so just thought about the whole idea of what has been conventional investment with stocks, and I'm thinking like those FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. I mean, all those companies, man, they're just digital entertainment / they don't really produce nothing of value overall. People are banking on just the idea of them having future potential to grow with nothing solid, man. So yeah, I would say that might be a good move, especially after this whole Facebook situation. So, but other than that, we can dive into that as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. So me personally, I don't really dip and dabble in the equities market just because I believe it's all a overvalued, good for nothing investment in the long run, even though there'll be some good things that will survive this next market correction. But for the most part, most of those things, man, are especially the entertainment based ones, I don't really see them being long-term things worthy of my time and energy and effort. So that's just me. Let me see here. There's Tony B in the house. What's up, my friend? So I'm interested, as always. I know since I posted that video of Tiki Tawari as well as Glenn Beck last week, it's been viewed close to 30,000 times. And so a lot of people are seem to be adapting to the mindset of the fact that the blockchain and cryptos are about to really take off. So I myself have been really evaluating my prior position on the blockchain, even though I've never been against it, just always curious and suspicious as to how and why it has arrived at this particular time. And even more so, just this weekend, I realized that, looking at that the Economist cover of 1987 in regards to the prediction of the Phoenix coin or whatever it was that was labeled on that cover as being the global reserve currency or whatnot, and to see how the blockchain message and the blockchain theme has really taken off this year, especially even surpassing the overall crypto talk. And so I'm thinking like perhaps maybe the whole 1987 Economist magazine cover of the new world reserve currency or whatever it was saying has to do with the blockchain. And so I'm thinking like perhaps that was what was designed for this time and this age. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. And so, Bruce, very good point, man. Like, so yeah, that's the biggest thing is no matter what's happening in this blockchain space or in the FANG stocks or whatever, silver is the most valuable anchor that you can have as the wind blows back and forth with all the stuff we're going to hear, especially as we draw towards the end of this year. It's going to be a very, very rough roller coaster ride politically, as well as potentially, you know, our overall economy. So, but that's another thing. So the article I did earlier in regards to the whole middle class and how that book that came out from the author who wrote the book called Squeeze, how Americans can't afford, how citizens can't afford to stay in America, whatever it was, how that book is, you know, got mainstream coverage on a lot of, you know, primary mainstream syndicates. And so the idea that in reading a couple of those articles, they all kind of say the same thing, but not really able to point the blame to the source of the reason why the middle class is no longer the ideal spot to really have, you know, really most people don't have a dream anymore. I believe that most people in the middle class no longer are dreaming about being able to live and sustain at the level they've been at, because right now I believe it's getting tight for a lot of people. And so they're more so experiencing, some people are, I'm sure, experiencing somewhat of a nightmare. So, but that's that. But other than that, what's going on out there, man? How's everybody doing? And I know last week when I logged on, I think it was Thursday night, I believe Thursday, Friday night, within 3 minutes, all of a sudden, everything on my end went blank. I lost my internet for the evening. Wi-Fi went out. And that's never happened to me before. So it's quite interesting how that came about, because I was very upset that I couldn't finish off my chat. But I'm here now. So let's work something out, people. It says a death by debt. Says rulers plan with decades in mind. The average folks can plan day to day. Wouldn't surprise me if they know the chaos dates. Yeah, death. That would be a good point there, man. But the biggest thing is, I believe that they might have had some dates or some time frames as to how and when they wanted this whole thing to come apart. But I believe that because more people are catching on, more people are becoming more aware of the Ponzi scheme nature of everything that they've been told and taught, they might have to either speed things up or either delay some things. And so watching another YouTuber's channel over the weekend in regards to Lindsey Williams, who I guess just recently came out with another video. And so for those who don't know Lindsey Williams, he's a pastor who over the last 30 or 40 years has had the privilege of being, as he called it, inside with some of the elites, because he was a chaplain back in the day. So he comes out with videos every couple months telling the public as to what his elite friends have told him. And so according to what was shared from the most recent Lindsey Williams video series is that I guess Trump being in office has thrown a lot of things off. So the elite have had to slow things down, if not press the pause button in the meantime, until I guess Trump's out of office. And according to him, he might get 2 terms for sure. And then the elite will pick up back with their plans of, you know, destroying the economy, of which he was saying how at any minute now, the global economy, as well as our own economy here in this country, is ready. The bubbles are ready to be pricked at any minute. And I'm a firm believer of that, because you look at we're setting, you know, the mainstream media does a great job of every couple of months reporting on the fact that we reach all-time new highs in student loans and credit card debt and the global debt. So the mainstream media stand up on the idea that we're beyond peak debt. We're setting new records with the amount of debt we have. Not only is our national debt, you know, 21 trillion and climbing, we have all the other debt that our government's responsible for, off the balance sheet stuff. So you've mentioned all these historical highs we're experiencing. It wouldn't be hard, in my opinion, to prick one of these bubbles, which will cause everything else to go straight belly up. So we will see how this all plays out. But biggest thing is taking advantage of this time that you have to make whatever adjustments you can in your life, you know, from a preparation standpoint of just having some necessities, as well as just being financially a little bit anchored down with your metals, because right now metals are the cheapest that they will ever be, especially moving forward. Because yeah, right now, you know, I was going to mention in a prior video that, our last line of defense is your disposable income. Being able to really utilize what you do have after everything is taken care of to your full advantage. And so I want to get into some of those ways I believe that you can probably take advantage of that disposable, and it doesn't take much, given the fact that what's about to occur pretty soon for those that are more than aware, especially in the crypto sector. So that might be a chance to really have a chance to get ahead in a very short term basis, to then reallocate to what is more important, which is going to be metals, in my opinion. It says, I don't trust crypto. They delayed for a few more months so that the blockchain and rig it again and people to enslave them. Yeah, that's the thing, D. At the end of the day, as I was, hinting at earlier in the video interview I had, is I've never been a blockchain proponent saying that, everybody must get involved or else. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, it's not going anywhere. So if you were to just say, hey, I'm not going to participate, I'm going to sit out, I'll come back to it in a couple years. In the meantime, it is an established asset class, regardless of what, they're doing to rig the prices right now. When you look at, the idea of the blockchain, predominantly, let's just use Bitcoin, for example, how it came into existence. That's the big mystery, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever the hell he is. But the idea that it was a blip on somebody's screen that wasn't even worth a penny, to have reached a high of 20,000 ish, and now to be at about 8,000, lets me know that as far as the absorption of Federal Reserve notes into that particular asset is well worth paying attention to, because along with that, it's basically saying that the cryptocurrency market went from 0 to 300 billion within an 8-10 year span. It's being positioned strategically for this transition into a solely digital aspect. So to not get involved, you're going to miss out on some things. Now, once everything gets rolling, we'll see how the powers that be, as far as our government, restructure it, as far as the excessive taxes that they're going to put on those that are trying to cash out. But in the meantime, it's not going nowhere. So I was definitely, me personally, I'm interested in the whole, the technology in of itself, because I think it's going to be very valuable, because everybody, all those FANG stocks that we mentioned earlier in this conversation here, they're going to go to the blockchain. They're going to adapt it into their business model in one form or another, if not have their own coin to spin off to use for profit's sake, or just going to blockchain in general. So yeah, it's going to be the future. It is going to be the future. It says, sure, if you have to spell it, Trump is controlled. Do you think trust same agenda, just in slow motion? Will? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm personally never sitting up here saying that, I'd never say that one man is a savior. And so everybody's responsible for their own livelihood and their own education and their own financial dealings. So I never said that Trump is going to be that guy, because, whether he's, we're operating in our best interest or not, it don't matter, because he's going to be well off anyway. So, he won't miss a beat, whether or not he gets reelected or gets impeached or whatever else the politicians are trying to do to him. So he's going to be all right. It says, do you think it will be wise for Russians to leave us or to leave U.S.? Do you think it is dangerous for them to stay? You have Russians in my family, and I'm worried about their safety. Fiona, that is sounds like a very unique question, because apart from our politicians always looking to point the blame on someone, they're pointing the blame on, our people who are going against the grain as far as not abiding by, our commands. Hence, Russia and Jim Cun, the North Korean president or dictator, whatever you want to call him. Any country that's not in alignment with what the Western powers want to be, they always are enemies to us. So I would say that at the end of the day, I wouldn't imagine that it's going to be a nationality type of war amongst nations. So I wouldn't think Russians and people of Russian descent will be in trouble. That's just my opinion, but who knows when things hit the fan how bad it could get. They're going to point the blame on somebody. So there's going to be some ignorant people who might respond in our nature. So hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, hi. I'm calling from California. My name's Greg. I wanted to talk about the dollar and mostly the Federal Reserve note.
Yes, sir. Feel free. How you doing, my friend? Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
I would like to know what it would take for America to get rid of the Federal Reserve note, go back to a non-interest-bearing note, different type of currency that's based on money instead of paper.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the country would have to do? I know it's an act of Congress to do that.
Right.
They could do it, but they don't seem to ever talk about it. No one really brings it up a lot.
Yeah.
But America's waking up, and people are getting a lot more educated about all this.
Yeah.
And the interest that we owe on this debt right now is just beyond belief. So what do you think we could do?
Ooh,
is that feasible?
That is a very valid point you're making there, because I'm sure at the end of the day, if you got some of the, because I'm not an economist, so I don't know how the ins and out works of combining all that debt that has been placed upon the American public for the most part, that our government has taken out a credit card on our backs per se. But I would imagine I've heard different scenarios about the U.S. basically writing off the debt, but then somehow abolishing the Fed and then taking the responsibilities and attaching it to making it redeemable by our treasury notes or whatever. I've heard different types of things. I don't see it happening, just because it would require our politicians in D.C. becoming unified in the nature of getting out, going beyond the banking system and the central banking powers. So I don't think it would ever happen. So what I do believe is that they're going to basically somehow, some way default, whether it be through hyperinflation type of scenarios, trying to pay back debt with funny money, or issuing some type of currency to go along with it. And we have, like as Jim Willis always says, having two domestic currencies. One will be more of a U.S.-based treasury type note, and let the Federal Reserve have a Federal Reserve note backed by something or another to do international business. So there's so many ways it can play out. I would have no way of figuring out how they would do it, but I don't think it'd be pretty for the holders of those Federal Reserve notes directly.
Yeah, I think the Federal Reserve note would, because remember, the public debt and government debt are two different things. I mean, the public debt is based on capitalism, and the debt for the government is based on socialism. I mean, whenever they need money, it comes from someone else, and they spend it, and then we go into debt because they don't have enough to spend. So the public debt also is insane. Yeah. So if we got rid of the Federal Reserve note, we'd also get rid of the IRS. We'd be getting rid of a lot of the tax, huge tax burden as far as federal government goes. So, the public, it's really not the politicians at that point either, because the politicians are going to do what the public wants them to do. And if the public gets aware of all this and they get smart in another 5 to 10 years, it's possible, or hopefully possible, and it's going to go our way. Yeah. We get rid of the Federal Reserve note and basically get rid of all the, because think about it, the Federal Reserve is basically the shareholders. The shareholders of the Federal Reserve are basically the banks, the biggest banks on the planet. Right. It'd be nice to get rid of all those guys and put them in the back seat for a change. But hey, man, like your show, I still like to listen to you guys, and I learn a lot from you guys. So,
well, thank you.
What do you think? You got anything else before I hang up?
No, I thank you for calling and sharing that, but yet I don't believe that this whole getting rid of the Fed aspect is going to be anything pretty for anyone. I think that, based upon what's happening all around us, the Federal Reserve, in order to stay in existence, in order to stay relevant, and being that they're the leading central bank on the planet, they're going to lead the way after this next little market hiccup, the way they did they were the first bank to do QE, then everybody followed. Now they're the first bank to do quantitative tightening and interest rate hikes. So we're ahead of the curve, and then everyone's going to follow us, but yet we're setting some new policies now, which we'll see how it turns out, because at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve is going to be last bank standing, but along the way, we have some borrowed time to utilize these notes to our advantage, knowing that they're not going to ever appreciate in value. So, knowing that they're never going to appreciate, I would imagine you can figure out what to do with those things while you still can.
Well, yield curve might be taking care of that also. There's a inverted yield curve on the horizon. So the dollar may end up getting a lot stronger before it implodes. I don't know.
Right, I do agree. But watch this. It's going to appreciate in that regards there, based upon being measured in the other currencies around it. That's going to go belly up. And so once again, a strong dollar in our economy is going to be a problem as well, because companies that export things are going to have problems selling goods. So in this whole currency aspect, we need a depreciating dollar in order to do trade amongst other nations. So it's the whole currency war aspect of where everyone's racing to the bottom for the advantage of trade. So, you know, that's going to hurt as well. So it won't put any more, the system's not designed to put any more products and services in your pocket or your possession, per se.
Okay, man, I could talk all night. But,
well, thank you, sir.
I'll get out of here and let someone else talk.
I appreciate you calling in, buddy. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks for calling in, my friend. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Like whatever policy is implemented in the days ahead is not going to be for your benefit. So, yeah. And I don't foresee any politician, Trump or anybody else, winding things down in a friendly nature that's going to be comfortable. So, yeah, time will tell. It says Cali is setting forest fires to boost Fed help due to take action taxes. Yeah, that's the thing. Those forest fires, man, I'm very leery on those forest fires because I believe if it's really dry out there, as I believe it is, that them boys are being deliberately set. And so what I've also heard, I'm not sure where I got this information from, but I heard that in those areas where the forest, where the fire is just completely, demolishing areas and houses and valleys or whatnot, it's easier to begin the process of installing those 5G towers and things of that nature. So by design, those forest fires allow for the government to get involved and for new laws and new policies to be written up in favor of, people other than the residents of those areas. So I wouldn't doubt if it is all by design. It says, what are we going to trade? We don't make anything anymore. Pat, very good point there. Yeah, the fact that, we are a consumer-driven economy based upon debt, and we don't produce anything. So in the long term, even the idea of trying to bring jobs back here is still going to be a good adjustment period, just like it's been an adjustment period for everything that move outside of our country. And so now we're feeling the side effects of that. It says, Mike, can you do a video on the roaring 20s, depressed 30s, and compare it to today? Not a problem, my friend. I can definitely look into that. And then on another note, now that you mentioned the depression, the things of that nature, another thought that came to mind earlier that I thought I would mention and get your guys' thoughts on it. But actually, I'll ask that question after this next call. So somebody remind me to come back to that question because it has to do with the pre-Great Depression and the blockchain. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Idris. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. What's your name one more time? What's the name?
My first name is Anis, last name Idris. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, Andrews. Okay, nice. Thanks for calling, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Yes, I'm actually off these days. I follow you. I'm just a new member, but I have one real question that I want to put it up front to you.
Okay.
Is the situation between the United States and China, could it really develop into a real war, or it's just going to stay a trade war or a cold war, just like being in the Soviet Union previously with the United States? Or, actually we're going to see something bad coming between these two giants, in the coming years?
Ah, man, that is a very good question there. And I would assume that neither nations can really afford to make it a firing war because there will be no winner. And so I would imagine that if we, meaning President Trump, continues to try to shake things up the way he's been doing thus far, they will either come to the table with some better arrangements on this trade aspect and cooperate with Trump because he's playing hardball right now. But if they decide not to, they can basically, in my opinion, they can end the party earlier for the Western world in regards to the usage of the Federal Reserve note as a global currency. So we are not in position, in my opinion, to really press too many buttons, because once they say we're done with you, let's roll out what we've been working on for the last several years with all these BRIC initiatives, AIIB, the gold futures with the yuan, tradability in the gold. If they decided to cut that switch on and say, hey, we're going full steam ahead, we don't want dollars, and they make that public, and you can't do business with us unless you use a yuan or the ruble or gold, you know, lights out for us. So I don't think we want to go that far, but no telling. But I don't think it'll go to a shooting war because there's no winner in that case.
Yes, because I'm one of the ones who are very into politics, especially between the United States and China. Due to driving trucks, so I jump into a lot of programs, and I see the two are, as you know, the Pacific, it's becoming a busy, you know, you can call it a cold confrontation between these two giants, and it is developed now in the Indian Ocean, because if you remember, the Pacific Command has been added another assignment to the Pacific Command, and it's now called the Pacific Indian Command. And the Chinese moved into many countries, if you may follow, like Pakistan, Iran, Kuwait, and Djibouti, and in Africa in general. So the hot water, what I'm just want to know is the United States can afford a Cold War with China, even if China decides to cash into their securities that they kept from the Federal Reserve and make the yuan convertible by their choice with like Africa, Asia, South America. So these two, if they've been progressively taken by China, is then the United States, without getting into a real confrontation, can sustain the Cold War with China? That is the real question. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you completely. And so from what you mentioned there about how China has now diversified and spread out in the same manner that we have, they're utilizing some of those treasuries and whatnot and dollar reserves they have to spread their influence into Africa and the Middle East. So at the end of the day, we're not fully aware what China's capable of, so I wouldn't put anything past them. But I know based upon our history how whenever it's in our so-called national or best interest, we go and invade and interact and destroy stuff. So I don't know if we're going to do that against China, because it won't be just China, because Russia is an ally of China as well as a couple other countries in our region. So I don't know if we can just stand a flat-out war against the entire Eastern Hemisphere. But who knows? I mean, we got a lot of hotheads in D.C. that might look to do stuff like that. So, but who knows, man? Time will tell, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Time will tell.
I follow that too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, time will tell, man. We'll see. But I hope and pray that we don't want to go to no shooting match with China, because I don't really think our military is as strong as a lot of those nations over there. Especially we've been, the former administration gutted the military a lot. So we'll see. But some more questions. Says, just my quick thing, the next oil denominated currency will be the ruble. Says Saudi oil must be running out. Why else would we be kissing Putin's rump? Jesse, man, yeah, but here's the thing, like, what if, for example, this whole Putin and Trump meeting a while back at the summit, what if they decided to come to a peaceful terms on how, to go past the powers that be or the elites that's trying to basically cause all this rift between the East and Western Hemisphere by division, by dividing us apart? What if Putin and Trump decide to work together to alleviate those oligarchy type families that are destroying our world by, basically paying for, starting rumors, and funding it via this industrial war complex we have? What if they're working together for the benefit of mankind type of thing? You know what I'm saying? So I never say that, there's Putin's a bad guy or is he not? I don't know. At the end of the day, I know one thing. I'm tired of our country being positioned as a damn bully and relying upon war to get our point across, as if it's really in our best interest to get involved in foreign affairs the way we have been. So if we were to call troops back and, you know, had become an ally of Russia, then who would the enemy be? Like, who would we be at war with? You know, the whole war on terror, we all know how that's ending up. I haven't heard nothing on mainstream TV about ISIS or Al-Qaeda, none of them people. So it looks like that's dying down, thanks to the idea that I believe Trump was kind of instrumental in that and pulling some of the troops out, and even mentioned about pulling troops out and letting them deal with their own damn issues. So, but we'll see. Time will tell. Missed some questions here. Let me roll back up. It says, saw a question here that was entitled with my name. Just my critical thing. It says, what else we have? It says, Russia isn't exactly an ally of China. There must be a reason they are dumping U.S. treasuries for gold. Yeah, but if they're not, they're very buddy these days with all that, you know, them bilateral swap agreement, currency swap agreements by, you know, Russia and China leading the way with the BRICS initiative. So if they're not good friends, they decided to call it truce until this whole Federal Reserve, aka the United States, you know, dominance comes to an end, and then they'll probably go back at it, or who knows. But for them to be bordering countries, excuse me, I would imagine that they will participate and be friendly enough to get through this restructuring that's going to occur, that they're going to lead the way in. It says gold up equals China, Russia win, gold down, U.S. wins. Gold up, China, Russia wins, gold down, U.S. wins. Interesting. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. This is Jeff from Florida.
How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Hey, I got two quick questions for you. One is, I saw that article that you had posted recently about those teachers in California that was, you know, they were teachers in the local high school.
Yeah.
And then when they got off from work, they was out working as Uber drivers, you know, grading the students' papers between cab rides and stuff. So do you think that's going to be more of a widespread thing that, you know, people they got like a 9-to-5 job, and then when they get off of work, they got 2 or 3 other jobs that they got to do on the side? Because I'm seeing more and more of that.
I believe that might be something more people will experience, but it's going to be more so based upon your current occupation. And so in industries where you have a fixed income, ideally, you know, you have you know what you're going to get every 2 weeks. You will never get, I don't think you're ever going to get a correct inflation adjustment in your wages. And so inflation will creep up. And basically what that means is most people are living on borrowed financing anyway. Most people live in a finance lifestyle with having a mortgage, car notes, and everything else. So there's already very little disposable income. So if your wages don't grow up, the cost of living around you goes up. That's going to be a little gap there. So that disposable will shrink down. So I believe that those people in California, they're experiencing the crunch of cost of living going up and their income not purchasing much, which is causing a shrinkage of disposable income. So they're looking to subsidize that disposable income by getting second, third jobs. So I can see that easily happening in more places. So yes, I do see that as being a way that people will have to, you know, get a little bit more of disposable after the cost of living and inflation, when it really kicks in our goods and services. Right now it's inflated in house prices, student loans, and all those other things. But when it hits Main Street, as far as your everyday items from the grocery store, yeah, we're going to have to do something else, I believe, or cut back in a lot of ways.
Well, in the article, I believe it said that there was a husband and wife, and they were both making around $70,000 a year. So their joint income was over $140,000,
right?
And they were still living below paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to pay the light bill this month? How are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to put food on the table? And it's just crazy to me that in some parts of the country, $140,000, you live like a king, but in California, $140,000, you worried about the light bill getting cut off.
Yeah.
And you know, one more thing is, I don't know if you saw this interview. It was on USA Watchdog the other day, and they was talking about Chris Mortensen from Peak Prosperity, and they were interviewing him, and he was talking about in the near future they was looking at 30 to 40% unemployment rate. You know, not adjusted unemployment. I'm talking about the actual unemployment rate being 30, 40%.
Yeah.
What type of environment do you think that would bring, here in the near future if we're looking at a scenario like that? Because I was sitting back thinking, man, 30-40% unemployment, people are going to be rioting in the streets and protesting and everything else. What do you think would happen if that scenario was to take place?
Oh, man, good point. Now, watch this. According to John Williams from Shadow Stats, because, a lot of people use his statistics that he does more so than Bureau of Labor Statistics. But according to his numbers, percentage-wise, we're already close to 20% type of thing in reality. But we're told it's 3-4% or whatever it is. So the numbers are already skewed. So I believe it's a lot higher, closer to 20-ish anyway. So if we were to go to 30 or 40, that's basically saying that there will be a lot of middle class people, or especially lower income individuals, basically looking for employment, and where there'll be not many options, because those people might end up being those that are not really skilled and offer a lot to the marketplace. So there will be a lot of disgruntled people, and people, especially in the inner cities, will take to the streets, and then we might see some type of movement where people, had signs, and then a whole Fight for 15 initiative, the minimum $15 they was fighting for 2 years ago, that's completely disappeared. That might come back, and it's going to usually be the unskilled labor that will be the ones on the outside looking in, and we'll see protest marches and hopefully no violence. But like always, whenever you get a large amount of people together, there's always a knucklehead in there that does something dumb. So anything is possible, but it will not be pretty, that's for sure.
Right. Well, I just was thinking about, they had all them people occupying Wall Street. We ain't seen nothing yet, They thought that was big. This is going to be like, 2, 3, 4 times that amount. I mean, when you got people, when you coming home from work, your lights are cut off, you got no running water, you got no food in the cabinet, and you work 60 hours that week, you know? Something's going to have to give.
Something's going to have to give,
People are going to be like, hey, I got nothing to lose,
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's going to be a real crazy environment. We talked last time about living in a third world country. I mean, it could turn on a dime. So I just want people to think about how quickly things can go from you sitting back in your backyard catching a tan or going swimming or going on a vacation, from, hey, there's people in the streets protesting and rioting, and, the cost of living and food and gas and groceries going through the roof,
Yeah, very good point there, man. That's the biggest thing. No matter what income level you fall into, never be of the mindset that that type of stuff can never happen to you, because we're all in the same monetary experiment, and our livelihood is dependent upon the Federal Reserve note. So, yeah, good point, my friend. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, man, that's a good point, man. Like, it's interesting how mainstream news is really shining light on what's happening in California, and as far as the housing market, and how the middle class is being outpriced when it comes to being able to have an affordable living. That's the biggest thing, is there's no longer a such thing as affordable living, based upon the idea that jobs aren't paying that much to keep up with the inflationary environment that's occurring with the housing market. And then you add the idea that everyone's living on borrowed time, living a financed lifestyle rather. Yeah, it's nothing good can come out of all this debt. And so people are waking up to the idea that, it's we're reaching that 0 hour, because how much more of this news information can be shared as far as the housing prices in California, or the pension news, or just whatever else is coming about, before something has to give. It says, if you made $10K in 1968 to keep up with inflation, you would need to make over $100K just to maintain your dollar purchasing power in today's dollars. Yes. And what really bothers me most about all these mainstream stories, especially that book that I was commenting on earlier from the news story, is the idea that no one ever points the blame to central banks and their primary debt creator or debt creation. Their primary product is their own Federal Reserve note, which happens to be our national currency, but how it's even brought into existence through fractional reserve lending. Fractional reserve lending is the reason why everyone is experiencing the pinch the way that we are, because the monetary supply is expanding digitally digitally, yeah, so a good word, in a way that, you know, that's the reason why all these damn prices are going up so much, because if you can just swipe a card or bring something from nothing into existence, but yet it has to go towards something tangible, it's an unlimited. You can print as much digital notes and paper. It's unlimited. It's man, that really gets to me. The idea that you can bring something into existence and print an infinite supply of things called Federal Reserve notes that are used to purchase and acquire a very small amount of goods. And so when the prices of housing is actually appreciating nominally, that's basically saying that because the housing market in California, there's only so many houses available for sale, but there's an infinite supply of digits that can be brought into existence, to where the price is a reflection of the amount of digits that's continually being pumped into the system, to where, as one of the articles said just this year, that a condo, I think it was in San Francisco or something of that nature, was going for $71,000. That's probably on the outskirts, you know, and now it's going for $1.2 million. So think about 70 to 1.2. That doesn't make any sense. I can't really wrap my mind around that. But that's what's happening out here. And as that leaves the coastal areas, so I'm assuming New York is the same way, up and down the coast, you know, though that's going to merge into the middle of our country. And when it goes into the middle of our country, as far as the pricing of housing being beyond affordability for the mainstream middle class family, man, you know, then what? You know, where do people live? What do people do? You know, that's, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Going to be very interesting. Legalized counterfeiting equals fractional lending. Yeah, man. And so I wish more people, which it will probably occur eventually, but more people, if in the mainstream media pointed the finger at the central banks, the Federal Reserve Bank is the reason why people are having such a uncomfortable experience now in their lives. You know, finances are destroying family. I posted an article on my Facebook page, so if you guys don't follow me, the link down below, because I post articles. I find articles throughout the day and I post them. And one article I posted last week or this weekend was how what is it? I think it's how finances, or how student loans are causing, you know, a massive amount of divorces. Because I mean, obviously when people said I do, they didn't take into account that they wasn't going to be able to stay current on those student loan payments. So they got to cut out their lifestyle, which put a cramp on them, the family growth. And so, yeah, there's more divorces because of student loans now. So how much longer can that go on? Yeah. Yeah, man. So as Tom said, don't do Facebook. Yeah, I just do it solely to share information, just as a alternative place to share articles throughout the day. It says, by the way, healthcare nor any other service is a right. Our only right is to work hard and choose what we want in the market. We need to become responsible and self-reliant. I do agree 100%. I do agree 100%. Says, question, in the U.S., is the U.S. dollar the most fancy toilet paper you have ever seen? Fancy as far as color and design, or what? Because the most fancy in regards to look and feel is, I don't have any here, but let me see. It probably, the one, I forgot the name of the currency. The one Gonzalez note in Guatemala is the most unique currency I've ever had in my possession. And so it's you know, it's the currency of Guatemala. And so it's the one Gonzalez note. It's literally a piece of plastic. Like it has no feel. Like I have some notes here, and all of these are more like cotton. They have some cotton type fiber in them. The Gonzalez, I think a couple of them, especially the $1, which is the most recent release of that particular denomination. And so it is literally a piece of plastic. And a lot of Central American countries have plastic notes. Like literally, like you look at it, it's plastic. And then as like counterfeit proof, they got like a little hologram type of clear plastic to go through it. And so when I'm holding them things, it's just like, I'm like, man, like this is like people work for this plastic. Like there's perceived value in this plastic note. So if that's what you mean by fancy, that was something most, fancy note that I've come across in my possession from actually, having gone to Guatemala a couple of times. Yeah. So it says Vietnamese doing dong has clear aspects. Yeah, that's spooky to have clear. I mean, that just basically just shows the worthlessness in that paper or plastic when it's, you can see right through it. It says America's funding needs, while the 2018 budget deficit is only $830 billion. The Treasury just revised the funding forecast higher. It expects to sell $1.3 trillion in debt for that. Damn, man, that is something else. That is another good point. The deficit. Like, here's another thing: is the idea that if our government is can't come up with a budget, how can someone who produces nothing, brings no value into existence, not be able to budget, apart from them having to borrow and further enslave their own damn citizens with the expectation of people paying taxes to just pay interest on debt, not to pay back debt. That is something that a lot of people don't think about, the idea of budgeting. If our government can't budget, you can be as responsible as you want to budget, manage, plan, but at the end of the day, you're using a liability of our government. So how much planning and budgeting can you do in a currency that is going to be problematic in the days ahead? Says, give a man a fish and he will eat for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Might keep teaching and we'll keep eating. Yeah, man, Jesse, man, I just enjoy having good back and forth, sharing stuff I come across throughout the day. And more importantly, man, it's the viewers, who are on the other end that are engaging and very supportive, that share your thoughts, because believe it or not, I learned a lot just going back and forth, hearing about different thoughts, because it triggered things in my mind. Because I'll be honest with you, I do a lot from my phone, laptop, computer, on the road, whatever. I'm always searching for news. I get all types of notifications for all types of stuff around the world. So I forget a lot of stuff throughout the day. So it's always good to be reminded in the chat on recent subjects, because like I always say, it's too many stories to cover for one person. So that's why I appreciate you guys chiming in and sharing your thoughts on the side. It says Rothschild's debt scheme, there's your answer. Yeah, those are the underlying problem makers, is those families that have utilized those institutions that they created to enslave humanity. Yeah, man. Like, so in regards to, I want to cover the whole crypto video that I posted from Tiki Tiwari and Glenn Beck. I'm interested in finding out how and why that video, within a week's time, has close to 30,000 views. And so I, associate that with the fact that more people are accepting and becoming willing to look into the crypto sector, at a time where it so happens to be playing right along with the idea that, the whole push for digitizing every damn thing. That's one thing that concerns me, when people, are newbies are coming in, really becoming excited about the crypto sector. Even though, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that, it's going to continue to appreciate, because it's basically just all those national currencies that are depreciating, it's people running from them, and a lot of people speculating on the idea that those, coins will appreciate in value, because they will. And, one of the reasons that lets me know that they will appreciate continuously, because, eventually all the retirement assets are going to be coming into that sector as well. So when that comes, that's trillions upon trillions. So yeah, it ain't going nowhere. But it's just really alarming how more people are catching on to it, and it seems to be very timely. And so I, biggest question I want to ask you guys, those that are tuning in and those that do watch, make sure in the comment section or right here in the chat, let me know if you guys are interested in hearing more about the blockchain, because I'm very interested in learning more about it. So I'm thinking about basically having more, or looking for guests to join us to inform us on blockchain related projects, as well as just to give us some insights on different coins and the business startup nature behind them, that I believe will present some opportunities for people that are interested and willing. So my question is, if you guys don't mind, let me know, from all the people that's tuning in, Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no. Would you guys, want to see some more blockchain, cryptocurrency related stories? Because they're definitely out there. And, a lot of people are passionate about this subject matter, so more people can come on and educate us. So feel free to let me know, and throughout the day, as well as chat. Leave a comment in the chat for those that watch this later on. But interested in seeing if you guys want to see some blockchain people, because I am interested in doing so myself. So we got a lot of people saying sure, a couple, one thumb down. So yeah, so that's just something I want to leave you guys with. But as always, about to wrap up this evening, because as always, I want to keep it short and concise. And as always, I never live up to my clock. So for those that are just tuning in, we got some things here, bring it to your attention. Ebooks that are free, just give you information on the importance of anchoring yourself down. You definitely want to be anchored down with your metals. And so my favorite motto that I love to use is make sure you get your weight up. This is a time where everything is the most affordable. So you definitely want to put on some weight in regards to the metal sector, in my opinion. But then also be open towards other things. And so that's why I mentioned the whole blockchain thing. Join me on Steemit. Where we at? Over here. Yeah, right here. Join me on Steemit. I share stuff there, Twitter and Facebook. The link down below. I want everybody to sign up or to just join Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just join the group or whatever. And I share articles there on crypto a lot. I'm sharing more crypto stuff there, especially. So those that are interested in crypto, make sure you guys join the Rethinking the Dollar page down below. And other than that, everybody have a good evening. It's been fun as always. I enjoy hanging out with you guys and look forward to doing it again tomorrow night. And we can go from there. So other than that, be good, be safe, and see you tomorrow, 9:30.